Hello and welcome to this Million Tree Pledge member interview. And I'm really excited today to have Joe Munns from Baked In. Baked In were actually founding members of the Million Tree Pledge, one of our first companies to take it, and we're there right at the beginning. So I'm really excited to have Joe here with us today. So Joe, I'm going to start with the question I ask everyone right at the beginning, which is, why did you guys decide to take the Million Tree Pledge?
So I think it was when you guys emailed and said, do you want to consider being part of this? It was a decision that didn't need any thought from us. We'd not long started using ecology to plant trees, so we were already committed, internally to doing some good through this. And I think it gives me something to galvanize my team and customer base towards, give us a target saying this is something we're trying to do, not just to plant 1 million trees, but to spread the word and to get some other businesses to take the pledge as well. So we were already planning to try and plant a lot of trees through the business and do some good that way. But I think this initiative gives us something to aim for, because I think it just galvanizes your thoughts and makes you think, right, that's something we've got to achieve. And then talking to you and the other founders on the kickoff call, I think there was so much energy around the amount of good that we could do as a group, because planting 1 million trees is not, in the scheme of things, enough for Baked In to do. But if I can have an impact on other companies planting 1 million trees as well, then that just makes me and the team and the customers feel like we can do so much more and be part of a bigger thing.
Yeah, and I love that expression of galvanizing both employees and customer base. And what's been the response from the team and your customers when you told them about it?
Everyone loves it. I think everyone sees the vision. I don't think I've yet met a person that thinks it's a bad thing to be involved in. And there's so many opinions these days on different things. But I think it's something I think we can all agree on, is it can only be good to have more trees. So.
Yeah, I've met very many people that are anti-trees. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's sort of very few people hate trees and want less of them. You know what I mean? Exactly. So I think that's really cool. So just for those people who don't know about Baked In, can you just give us a bit of background about what you guys do and your story?
Yeah, so we're a home baking kit manufacturer. We make about 30 or 40 products. Some of them are behind me that we sell in shops like Tesco and Costco, and Amazon and Ocado in retail, but we also sell everything direct to consumer through our website. So about half of our business is through the shops and half is direct to consumer. And a big part of the direct to consumer business are subscription boxes. So it's a different baking kit every month in a letterbox size box. And in it, you've got the recipe, you've got all the ingredients weighed out in the right quantities. So it's kind of a recipe discovery. So we send out about 22,000 a month at the moment on the same day. So it's quite a big customer base, and there's a big community around it. So baking is something that I think people can get really passionate about, because it sort of defines some of what you do. It's a hobby. People say, I'm a baker. What do you like doing? I'm a baker. You don't necessarily say someone says, well, what do you do? You say, I'm a coffee drinker or a tea drinker. You can say, I'm a baker. So people can get really, really emotive about the subjects. And we've built a big community around the club. We've got 12,000 people in a really nice closed Facebook community that are sharing all their pictures of their bakes. And so, yeah, it's a recipe box, and it's a baking community, really, I think, at heart.
Brilliant. And so how did it start up? What's the story behind it?
So I worked in IT for my whole career, 15 years at IBM, and just decided that I wanted to do something that I cared a bit more about, which was going to be, for me, golf or cooking. And I went down the cooking route. So I started Baked In as a hobby around my day job back in 2013 now. And in 2015, I plucked up the courage to take the plunge, get some investors, and build a factory. And it's part of our story, is we make everything ourselves. So there's about 45 of us in the business at the moment, split between the factory and the office and sales and marketing teams. And it's kind of just really snowballed from there to the point where we've got 3 subscriptions now. We've got the Baking Club, which is all kind of sweet bakes, cookies, cakes, biscuits, muffins, that sort of thing. We've got the Bread Baking Club, which is slightly more complicated dough-based recipes. We launched that about a year ago. Then about 4 months ago, we launched our Junior Baking Club, which is aimed at 5 to 11-year-olds. So the same concept. with much simpler recipes, really designed to get people and to get children learning about baking and building that love of baking at the earliest age we can.
Do you think that the excitement and the purpose is, around your brand and what you do really kind of is there to galvanate and align with the younger people and, their mission with climate as well? Because it's such an important thing for younger people.
Absolutely. I think if we split that into two, baking and people enjoying baking, it's definitely something more people have got into since the pandemic, since we've been stuck indoors. A lot more people have learned to bake, and that's been really good for us to bring lots of new people to the hobby. And we are finding it's becoming a more, it's becoming a younger category. There's the meal kits like Gusto and HelloFresh. Lots more people are starting to use those, so they're starting to think about how they can do that kind of thing with baking. And it's a really good way to get people who haven't baked before to give them the confidence to try things. I think, as a society, and particularly with the younger generation, our impact on the environment is becoming more and more important as well. Mm-hmm. And Baked In was really formed with a vision to eliminate food waste, because typically, if you bake occasionally, you'll have this baking cupboard and it will have loads of ingredients you use a very small amount of. Unless you bake the same thing over and over again, which most people don't, you end up with lots and lots of bits of ingredient that all go out of date, and you end up throwing them away. So by having just the right amount of everything, effectively eliminates food waste. And I think that's something that's been really attractive to our customers, is thinking, okay, I can not only can I save a bit of time and having to go and source a recipe and the ingredients and everything, someone's done the creative bit for me, and they've given me the inspiration, and they've given me just the right amount of everything. We don't send the fresh ingredients, so it's just the dry ingredients, because it's typically butter, eggs, milk that you need, and it would cost us a lot to send those ingredients, and then there'd be risk of them going off and contributing to food waste. So people buy those themselves from the supermarket, wherever they buy their normal groceries from. But we do use, to make sure we get a good shelf life, we do use plastic in the products, in the bags. It's a very easily recyclable plastic, and we've done a lot of research and deemed it to be the best material for the job. It's by far, from being the cheapest material, it's about 3 times the price of the cheapest material, but it means that you can put those bags in the supermarket's plastic bag recycling scheme, and they do actually get recycled, as opposed to lots of other plastics don't. So that means that we can get the absolute maximum shelf life from the products. If we used other alternatives, we'd have to reduce the shelf life, and then we'd end up getting back into the situation where we'd be generating food waste. So being part of the Million Tree Pledge was really acknowledging that I think all of us have an impact on the environment in different ways. Some people fly more, some people drive more, some people use more plastic. So planting the trees and offsetting is one part of our sustainability strategy that enables our customers to kind of feel good about getting our boxes, knowing that every box that we send out, we plant a tree for, to offset some of that. All of our staff, we offset their carbon footprints through ecology as well. So I think it's really important to not just the younger generation, but it's bringing more of those people to the category because of all these reasons.
Yeah, it's so true about bringing everyone together, because it's about taking ownership for your lifetime emissions. I think that's what a lot of our members really feel, that Fountain Partnership, Baked In, all companies, we have a carbon footprint. We've dumped X number of tons of CO2 in the atmosphere. We've caused various amounts of damage to the environment. And on the CO2 piece, that has to come back down. For us to have a sustainable planet, we have to draw that back down, and that's where the tree planting really plays a big part of it. I asked this to everyone on the interview: how confident are you feeling, Joe, about the future of climate change? Because obviously, COP26 wasn't really what we wanted. It didn't feel particularly as if the whole world was taking it as seriously to get to reducing emissions by 50% in just 8 years. It didn't feel, as goals driven as that's my personal view, that, it didn't feel ambitious enough that we're actually going to hit that. But what do you sense with, everything you're doing, that is the movement, is the momentum that's moving quickly enough?
I don't know if it is. It's really hard. I think the thing for me is that it's clear that awareness has been raised over the last few years, probably the most in the last 12 months. I think public awareness of the problem has been raised. So I think that everything we're doing is enough? Probably not at the moment. But what does give me hope is that so many people now are thinking about this problem. Maybe not necessarily, who knows, the people that can actually make the most difference, but as a community in general, we are starting to really realize this is something that we've got to do something about. And I feel it's one of those things that we can all, there's not going to be one big thing that we do. There's going to be lots and lots of things that we need to do differently. And some of it's a balance and it's a compromise, because people that fly a lot aren't just going to give up flying, and people that drive a lot aren't just going to give up driving, but there will be hopefully advances in, EVs and ways to reduce the impact in the people that drive, and and I'm hopeful that there's big technological improvements that are going to come. I feel optimistic that everyone knows about this problem, is more aware of it, and that if enough of us are aware of it, then ultimately the changes will come at the top where they can be made. That's my kind of personal feeling. So it's difficult, isn't it? Because it's one of those things that's just completely out of your personal control. You can only do what you can do to make an impact on it. And for me, being part of the Million Tree Pledge gives me that sense of having a bit more control of having an effect on that, because like I say, it's not just hopefully the 1 million+ trees that Baked In are planting. I think we're nearly a quarter of the way to our 1 million trees, sort of a year or so since we took the pledge, and that says to me that Baked In will satisfy that part, and it's just making sure that we can get more companies to take that pledge. So whilst I feel like it's out of my control ultimately, by being able to take those actions makes me just feel better about everything that we're doing, and that acknowledging that I'm not perfect as an individual with my carbon footprint. I don't think any of us are, or very few of us are. But if we can make those small changes, then I do feel optimistic that as a global population, we can do something about it in time.
Yeah, it's funny. I do share your optimism, because we're talking about it more than we ever have done. Do you know what I mean? In that respect, like we're leaving it incredibly close. Like it's beyond the 11th hour now. 8 years to half emissions, and then we need a plan to draw down, pretty much 2.5 trillion tons of CO2 we've all put up there collectively. But it's normal to be talking about this. Do you know what I mean? Like perhaps 10 years ago, me and you having this conversation, putting out, a video talking about planting lots of trees, we would have been deemed tree huggers or hippies or something that was perhaps, on the periphery. But now it's just central, And obviously, like you were saying earlier, it would be good to drill down it a bit more. I mean, obviously, you're telling other businesses about it, and we're getting good responses. I haven't had a single person be negative to me, at least to my face, and say, "No, it's a good idea. Why are you doing that?" People are really starting to think about it, and it is a big commitment, planting 1 million trees. It's a lot of cash. I mean, for those who are watching who aren't members, it's going to be, around £100,000, which is a lot of money. But I think we should be doing it. There's an imperative that those of us who are making profit and doing well in business should be doing it. But actually, I think there's a business case for doing it as well, because it will drive more consumers, and our staff at Fountain, they're really relieved, because a lot of people have climate anxiety, and knowing that there's a company that's doing something. I was interviewing James, who runs Thrive Accounting, and he was saying, look, if you're putting 1 or 2% of your revenue into the Million Tree Pledge, he'd be amazed that, and he's looking for evidence to prove this hypothesis, that your business couldn't grow by more than that because of the positive PR and goodwill, and it's not just revenue, like I said before, it's staff retention and so on. Does that resonate with you in terms of just like a truth? Because obviously you guys have been doing it for a year. You said it's been positive.
I think
on a business perspective,
anecdotally, it feels like it does. Down to the Facebook post that I did in our group. There's 12,000 people in there, and when we first took this pledge, we wrote in that group and said, this is what Baked In's doing, and the response was just overwhelmingly positive. Absolutely tons of engagement, hundreds and hundreds of engagements with that post, and a lot of people said, this is amazing, I didn't know you guys were doing this, I didn't know, but this now makes me feel really good about being part of the baking club community. And we've been doing lots of things to improve retention, adding more value to the product, but our retention numbers over the last 6 months have been, since we took the pledge, have been coming down, particularly so in the last 6 months, the churn numbers are coming down, the retention stats are going up. so people are staying longer as part of the subscription. I think I think that's definitely part of it. Part of it is our really good, comprehensive, pragmatic sustainability policy, of which this is a big part. So
it's true, actually. So one of I think I think my other halves were interested in joining your subscription, so we might be a new one. But Dennis, who's at Ecology, but he also has Hemmer, which is a subscription to sort of eco-friendly laundry detergent. My subscription, we're piling up. I'm not washing enough clothes for it, but I'm keeping the subscription going because actually they're part of the pledge, and I know that a chunk of those profits are going towards planting trees. And it's that thing of sometimes you think, should I slow down my subscription? And I'll probably make it 8 weeks rather than 6. But there's no thought in my mind of switching back to another provider or whatever, even if actually my other half actually prefers the other provider. I think, well, no, but these guys are pledges. And it's those sort of like those consumers that are perhaps 50-50 and actually having something like the pledge makes you think, you know what, actually, I don't really mind which one I choose, but I'm always going to fall on the one that's actually giving back and trying to do something about the climate emergency rather than, another corporate that's just purely out to make money. So, Joe, in summary, so people have, they're excited to learn a bit more about Baked In. So, obviously, tell us how they can find out a bit more about you. Also, which stores they could perhaps find you in again. And obviously, anyone who's interested in taking the Million Tree Pledge, go to the website, fill out the form. But, Joe, over to you to,
Oh, absolutely. If you come over to bakedin.co.uk, you can find out about all of our products there. The subscription boxes are all under the Baking Club brand, and they are really a fantastic product. They're my favorite part of the business because I think we're on recipe 100 now since we launched it. So completely unique recipes, no repeats, and everyone gets them on the same or around the same day each month. So it's a kind of surprise adventure you're on with 22,000 other people. And Facebook's a funny place to be these days. There's quite a lot of negativity and negative places, but the Baking Club community is genuinely a completely positive, friendly, supportive place, and you get access to that as part of your subscription. So we're all about just getting as many members as we can to come and join us to either discover a love of baking, reignite a love of baking, or just to be part of that community and get lots of recipe inspiration and kind of build up their own recipe book, and then come to our website, see all the other amazing products we've got.
Brilliant. Well, look, I hope you guys have really enjoyed listening to this. I know I have. I'll definitely be checking you guys out because I'm not as much of a baker, but my other half certainly is. I think we'll be jumping all over that. But Joe, thanks so much for your time today. And thanks everyone for watching.
Thanks, Marcus.